and welcome to another episode. In today's episode, I am going to be talking about max width with CSS. But before we get started, if you like this video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. If you're new to my channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And if you find this video useful, make sure to share it with someone else. Also, if you like to support my channel, I am going to leave my PayPal link in the description below. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so to get started with width and the max width properties, I want you to go to the same website we've been using so far, which is w3schools.com. You're going to go to the CSS section and you're going to scroll all the way down to where it says CSS max width. And in here, we also have open the same website we've been working with in our last chapter, and the same as previously, we have opened our code in here. So the width and the max width property, using them is very, very easy and is something that is going to help you, especially when you are working with different devices, like small devices. This chapter is going to be very short because we do not have much to speak about. Like, this topic is straightforward. So I am going to go ahead and actually teach you this by showing you the example. So as you know, we have the width property. The width property, and let's go ahead and read a little bit here so that you can get a better understanding. So using width, max width, and margin auto. So in our previous chapter, when we were taking a look at block elements, you see how the block elements always take up the full width of the element. It stretches out all the way to the end. So if you set up a width of a block element, as we have seen in our previous chapters, actually, the element will prevent from stretching out to the edges, and it'll simply adjust the margins, right? And is going to create a smaller element. And now if you use margin auto, this is going to horizontally center the element within the container itself. So the element will take up the specific width and the remaining space will be split equally between the two margins. So margin automatic is going to do that, margin auto, right? It's going to make sure that all the content inside of that container will stay within the container, aligned horizontally center. Okay, now the problem with the div element above, of course, that when the browser window is smaller than the width element, the browser will add a horizontal scroll bar, meaning that it's not going to adjust the size to make it smaller, right? And you're going to have to scroll to the right or to the left, whatever the case might be, right, so that you can see the entire element. So when you use max width in this situation, the browser is going to handle small windows, right? It's going to adjust the content and is going to make it a little bit short. So let's go ahead and take a look at both examples here. If you hit here, try it yourself. We have the example number 1, which is just applying a width, and then you have the example number 2, which is applying a max width. So just so you are clear, let's do this into our code. Now here we have 2 div elements. So I'm going to also add 2 divs, and we're going to assign to each div 2 different classes. But before, I'm going to delete all the information we used in our previous episode and all the style that we applied to our previous episode. Okay, so let's make sure to hit save here, and also let's save the other. And let's hit refresh. Boom, now our website is clear, and we are going to add the 2 divisions here. Okay, div 1, and we're going to give this a class of example number 1. Okay, and we're going to add just some paragraph there. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do is make sure that we do another div in here. Okay, let's do a line break, just so you can see that in here. And then here we're going to change this to example number 2. Now let's hit save, let's hit refresh, and boom, you see? Now you have the 2 divisions. Okay, so let's go ahead and style the first division. So to show you this example, so we're going to call the division example number 1, and in the example number 1, we're going to add the width. Instead of 500 pixels, I am going to apply 800 pixels to this. Let's see how it looks like. And I'm also going to add a border. Now the border is going to be 3 pixels width. Let's make it solid and let's make it color red. I'm going to hit save and let's hit refresh. Oops, not here, but here. Refresh here. Okay, you know what, everybody? I forgot that to add the letter A on class. And it's not giving me, that's why it wasn't giving me right now the thing. So just make sure that you're adding this there. Okay, so we already have the border and we're going to set up the margin of this element to become auto. Now by adding the margin auto, see how this is going to move to the center. Okay, let's hit refresh and boom, you see now the margin is automatically moving the element to the center. Now another thing I'm going to do here, it's apply to the division on the example number 2 a width as well. Okay, now this width is going to be same 800 pixels, but I'm sorry, it's not going to be width, it's actually going to be the max width because that's what we're going to work with right now. So let's erase this and let's call max width 800 pixels. Okay, 800 pixels, and we're going to apply the same style here, border. We're going to make it the margin automatic, and we're going to erase the red and we're going to paint this in blue just so you can see that the blue one is the one with the max width. Okay, so let's go back to our code and let's hit refresh. Boom. So there we have the 2 division style. Now the first one is with the div and the second one it's 800 pixel, but this one has a max width. So let's see what happens when I go ahead and I resize my window. Okay, I'm going to make it a little bit bigger so you can see. Okay, so here, everything is going normal right now. Now, when I hit here the 800 pixels and I start shortening this out, you see how a scroll bar is added? So I can see the one on top because the one on top only has the width. So if you only apply a width, you have to scroll because this is not letting your code know that you have like a maximum width that it can go to, right? It's only a width, in other words. The width is going to be 500 pixels, nevertheless. Now, with the max width, as you can see, the box is resizing. Why? Because we are telling our code, we are telling the browser, hey, I want the maximum width of this division to be 800 pixels. So when it reaches 800 pixels, it cannot move bigger. But we're not saying that it can have a minimum width, right? We can make it as small as we want, and then we can stretch it, stretch it, stretch it, and when we stretch it, the maximum width will be 800 pixels. So that's why it's called max width. So, I mean, that's about it with the max width. I hope this has been super easy for you to understand. If it's not and you still have doubts, leave your questions in the comment section below. So that was it for this video, everyone. I hope you liked it. If you did, remember to give me a thumbs up. And if you're new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe to it. I am going to be uploading more videos to help you out on CSS. And remember that you can always ask Lixi. Bye, everyone, and see you again in the next episode.